Cambridge Dictionary defines self-reflection as the activity of thinking about your own feelings and the reasons behind them. These past 10 years have been filled with self-reflection, wondering why this was my cross to bear. Why did I have to go through a miscarriage, 4 IUIs, and 2 cycles of IVF and still was unsuccessful? An infertility diagnosis is very hard to digest, especially my diagnosis of unexplained infertility. That means that all the testing hasn't found a cause to explain a person or a couple's infertility. So basically, everything works and it's just not happening. This journey can be exhausting. You ask yourself, what did I do wrong to deserve this? You clasp your hands together, begging and bargaining with God to let this happen for your family and for you. You feel like you are all alone. So what happens when a women of faith get together to use their voices collectively? The atmosphere is charged with women who have their own story. We all have a unique story about how infertility has affected us. Was the ride too bad for you? What? Oh, okay. I didn't know how. It takes brave women to tell their truth, especially something that is so deep and personal. Generations of the past have not been so lucky to have a space where they feel like their truth can be told. In the African American community, so many women in the past and now have suffered in silence. It's only more recent that they're allowing their voices to be heard.
My name is Krishan, and this is my story. Infertility affected me in ways that even today, I don't understand. I went through very deep depression, and a lot of the pain I hid because during the time that I was going through infertility 20 years ago, it wasn't talked about. In a lot of cases, people just didn't understand what you were going through. They were judgmental in some cases, asking, well, when is it going to happen for you? Why hasn't it happened? What's going on? And even some people judging my pain when I saw others being blessed with pregnancies and children, saying, well, you got to be happy for them if God's going to bless you. And it wasn't about not being happy for others. It was about, why wasn't I good enough for it to happen for me? So having to deal with the depression and people looking at you and questioning you, even questioning you as a Christian. How can you not be happy for others in order for God to bless you? So it's just a very hard time, and I felt alone. That even talking about my pain was so misunderstood that I just didn't talk. I used my voice to help others through infertility by, first of all, acknowledging my pain and where I was, and being open enough to share my story, which wasn't easy for me because sharing your heart with people that may not understand what you're going through. But when you come across other women who are struggling and God has brought you through, you have to share your story. And I think for me, being able to talk about it and talk about it with someone that is going through it and understands that pain, the ups and downs of your emotions, the I'm okay today but can see a baby stroller and I'm a hot mess. So sharing my story, I was able to relate to someone and say, hey, I was there. I understand the multiple rounds of artificial insemination. I understand the failed attempt at IVF. I understand the struggles and the pains that your body goes through. I understand the emotional roller coaster that you go through. I understand the doctor coming and saying, I'm sorry, it didn't work this time, but let's try again. Let's inject some more needles. Let's take some more pills. I understand the changes that your body is going through physically, on top of all the emotional struggles that you're going through. And to be able to say to somebody, no, it didn't work for me either. But to be strong enough to say, this is where God has us. And what we're going through is for a purpose. And now I can share my story to help others. To my sister that is going through infertility right now, I say to you, hold on. It may sound cliche, but you have to hold on. You never know what God has for you. And everyone is different. Every story is different. My story was, God had to say no to me to birth my own child, because there was another child that was being birthed for me. So even as difficult as it was to get to that answer of no, I ultimately knew that God knows what's best for me. He created me, and I am fearfully and wonderfully made. So for me, my answer was no, because there was another yes. So whatever God reveals to you, accept it. It took me a long time to accept it, but accept it, because God loves you unconditionally, and He only wants the best for the child that He created. So be open to what He has for you. Be open to different. Be open to saying, yes, God, I receive what this is that you have for me. And give Him your full yes. It took me a long time. It took me some lashings. It took more tears and more pain. But when I came to grips with what God's plan was for my life, I can't imagine it any other way. Because now I am blessed to be a mother to a beautiful son. Not the way I wanted, but the way God wanted it. And it will be okay.
Culturally, some of the women in the Hispanic community also suffers in silence. There are many factors as to why, but this brave Latina woman cannot be silenced.
Hola, soy Brenda y esta es mi historia. ¿Cómo la infertilidad me ha afectado? Bueno, ha sido bien difícil todos estos años. Me ha afectado físicamente, emocionalmente, financieramente. Es muy difícil entender todo esto a menos que estés pasando por la situación. Yo nunca pensé que iba a pasar por esto, como creo que nadie va a pasar por esto. Vengo de una familia grande. Mi mamá tuvo 7 hijos. ¿Quién iba a pensar que yo no iba a poder tener ninguno? físicamente porque vas por todo el proceso pensando que estoy sobrepeso o tengo que rebajar o estoy muy delgado, estoy así, lo que sea, emocionalmente porque piensas que no eres suficiente, piensas que estás siendo castigado por algo que hiciste antes, que decidiste esperar mucho. En mi caso, yo me casé a los 37 años, luego de eso rápido intentamos tener hijos y no se logró. Nos hicimos 8 procedimientos de fertilización artificial cuando íbamos a intentar, porque pensamos que el último no dio resultado, íbamos a comenzar entonces el IVF, pues Dios nos dio el regalo de tener al niño que ahora tiene 4 años, pero fueron meses de no lo puedo ni explicar. Fue tan difícil, mi corazón estaba tan triste. Todo el mundo te pregunta, oye, ¿cuándo vas a tener niños? Ya es hora. El reloj está sonando. Es hora ya de comenzar. Y tu esposo también, ya es hora de tener niños. Y entonces en ese momento tú piensas, Dios mío, pues, ¿qué hice? ¿Qué hago ahora? Financieramente tampoco es que tú tienes 20, 30 mil dólares, 40 mil dólares para ir y hacer todos los procesos que quieras. La gente no entiende que cada caso es diferente. Unas personas pueden tener un diagnóstico, pero en mi caso no había explicación. Yo estaba muy bien, mi esposo estaba bien, nadie entendía por qué no podíamos yo no podía quedar embarazada. Y dolía mucho, me deprimí, iba llorando cada vez que llegaba el periodo. Es un fracaso más, no lo logré, no le di el hijo que tanto queremos. Y cuando al fin lo logras, entonces abortas. El primer niño lo perdí en noviembre del 2017. Niño o niña, no sé, porque no lo tuve mucho tiempo en mi vientre. Luego logramos tener a Alex y dijimos, bueno, lo logramos, qué bueno, pero entonces queríamos otro y tampoco se pudo. Al año siguiente volvimos a tener otro aborto. O sea que en ese sentido nunca es fácil. Lo intentas y gastas dinero y haces esto y la gente, ahora pasado. Cuando tuve el primer niño, alguien me dijo, rápido empieza a tener el segundo, por si acá le pasa algo al primero, que por lo menos tengas un niño. ¿Quién hace ese comentario? ¿Quién se le ocurre hacer un comentario como ese? Pero es importante saber que aun cuando se te hace difícil, aun cuando estás sufriendo, aun cuando lloras todas las noches y aun cuando puedes pensar que hiciste algo, que fue tu culpa, que es tu culpa, que te pusiste a estudiar. En mi caso yo estudié, me licencié, trabajé, fui a viajar, no era mi prioridad porque pensé que al momento de yo comenzar a tener hijos iba a ser fácil, como le ha sido a tantas, pero ese no era el plan de Dios para mi vida. El plan de Dios para mi vida era pasar por este proceso. Ha sido un proceso de aprendizaje, nos ha afectado de muchas formas, pero hemos tenido la victoria de que Dios nunca nos ha dejado, nunca, nunca, nunca. En las largas noches de llorar o de pensar por qué, Él siempre nos ha dado un aliciento para sentirnos que Él como quiera está ahí y que es un proceso que tenemos que llevar. ¿Cómo he usado mi voz para ayudar a otras personas? Pues es interesante porque en nuestra comunidad hispana eso no se habla, es como un estigma, y ahora es que la gente está empezando a hablar sobre el tema y mucha gente se queda callada. Yo me quedé callada, obviamente esta es la primera vez que yo hablo sobre este asunto. Mucha gente entiende que yo simplemente tuve a mi hijo y listo, mucha gente no lo sabe. En ese sentido, he hablado, por ejemplo, conocí a Sharon en un support group de Facebook y nos apoyamos en todo momento, en todas nuestras batallas para poder quedar embarazados. Cuando yo perdía, ella lloraba conmigo, cuando ella perdía, yo lloraba con ella. Y eso es lo que necesitamos. Hay mucha gente fuera, mucha gente de habla hispana que no sabe con quién hablar, que no sabe, abre tu boca, reacciona, di, necesito esto, ¿qué voy a hacer? ¿Dónde voy? Hay doctores, Los seguros médicos probablemente no sabes y quizás pagan algo que tú no sepas que va a pagar. Hay muchas cosas que hacer y tenemos que alzar nuestra voz, tenemos que hablar, tenemos que decir, todo el mundo en algún momento ha pasado por algo difícil, no eres la única. Y aquí estamos para apoyarnos. Necesitamos abrir nuestra voz y necesitamos apoyar y decirle a la gente, aquí estoy, yo pasé por eso y tú lo vas a lograr también. No siempre vamos a tener un bebé, pero vamos entonces a luchar para que podamos aceptar y podamos caminar y ser felices con la vida que Dios nos ha dado. ¿Qué le diría a alguien que está pasando por infertilidad ahora? Bueno, no es un castigo. No estás siendo castigada por Dios porque hiciste algo mal. Eso es lo primero. No estás siendo castigada por tu pasado. Simplemente ocurre. Dios tiene planes con nosotros. Dios sabe lo que va a pasar en el futuro. Es increíble a veces cuando uno piensa, ¿dónde estuve hace 4 años llorando tirada en la cama y ahora veo los frutos de toda esa dificultad? Nunca lo logré. Bueno, ahora estoy siendo voz para otras personas que no lo logran. Adelante. Trata de no crear rencor en tu corazón. Es bien difícil ir a los baby showers, a las fiestas para las mamás embarazadas. Es muy difícil. Es muy difícil cuando ves a tu hermana, a tu prima, a tu amiga, a tu mejor amiga, todas embarazadas y tú, ay Dios mío, ni siquiera puedo oler un bebé. Pero todo va a estar bien. Todo va a estar bien. Vas a estar bien. Dios está contigo. Hay un camino que podemos seguir y Él nos va a ayudar a lograrlo todo. Ahora mismo no sé qué realmente por tu mente está pasando, pero piensa, estoy ahora en este momento, voy a lograrlo, voy a lograr seguir. Ahora tengo un niño hermoso que me dice que yo soy su sweet pink heart. Así que en la noche me dice, good night mommy, my sweet pink heart. Y es para mí increíble de todas esas lágrimas que derramé anteriormente y cómo Dios me ha ayudado a sobrepasarlas. No, el final no va a ser igual para todo el mundo, pero sí tenemos el mismo Dios que tiene todo el mundo, el mismo Dios que te da consuelo, el mismo Dios que te lleva cada día para que puedas sobrepasarlo, cada día que tengas, que lamentablemente pierdas el bebé, el día que el IUI no haga efecto, el día que logres quedar embarazada, en todo ese momento Dios va a estar contigo. Y si no lo logras, Dios sigue estando contigo, porque Dios sigue siendo Dios. Adelante y vamos. Es difícil la carrera, pero lo vamos a lograr.
People need to know and be aware of the internal burden that we carry when we're going through infertility, because a lot of people don't really understand the burden of it all with your boyfriend or your spouse, or with your family, and just the internal battle in your mind. Like, why God, why
It's heavy.
it's so heavy.
My name is Anastasia, and this is my fertility story. This is the first time I'm telling my story. The diagnosis was not easy. I was alone. I was at work when I got the call. It was after 3 pap smears that I got the confirmation. I had to call my family because I'm from Boston and let them know I've been through multiple rounds of radiation and chemotherapy. I was told at the age of 25 and 26 that if I was gonna have a child, it would be hard. I had gone through severe period pain as a child and period cramps when we opened myself up through an exploratory laparoscopy. We had found that I also had endometriosis and the cancer had moved to part of my ovaries, but thank God it was stage 0-1, so they were able to do on-site radiation. I have been through cancer has been riddling my body. When I had the conversation about fertility, they said if I wanted to have a baby, I would have to be laid up and my cervix would have to be sewn shut. I have gotten unintentionally pregnant 3 times and lost that baby within 2 weeks of finding out. Whew. I'm trying to.
Okay. It's okay.
I got it. When confronting my OB and my oncologist about this, they said being pregnant would never be easy for you. Don't intentionally try, because we're not trying. It's going to be a process. It's going to be a journey. I had multiple conversations with God. I asked why. I argued with God. You're never supposed to do that. But I did. Because I said, why me? Cervical cancer is never for women in their 20s. You get diagnosed after the age of 30. God is funny. You make plans. You're never supposed to do that. God will tell you. You're never supposed to. He'll teach you a lesson. I went in for another check on my cervix. They found breast cancer. Before I turned 30, right on my 30th birthday. Again, you ask why. God will show you something. I've had recent conversations about my fertility journey, and these same doctors said, we're not going to give you any more diagnoses. We're not even going to run your egg count because we've put you through too much radiation. We've put you through too much chemo. Why am I here? Why does fertility matter for Black women? It's because we're never tested early. We never go to the OB. We never get diagnosed. I've heard one too many times, I'm young, I'm a Black woman, and I have been diagnosed with cancer 4 times before the age of 40. Infertility matters because I've been told this year I can try, but we don't know. I've been blessed with finding out early and early interventions, but I don't know if fertility is for me. How have I used my voice to advocate about infertility? I've used my voice to advocate about cervical cancer awareness and letting people know that a pap smear is free. Your yearly visit to an OB is free. That's how I've been using my voice. I have not advocated about fertility because I'm scared to tell my story. Because you look at me and think everything. Because you think everything is fine and it's not. And it's a scary place to live in, to know that Black women have to fight for their right. I advocate for Black women to know that it's a story, but I haven't advocated for fertility just yet. What would I say to somebody who hasn't shared their story? Do it. Speak up. Every day you may wake up wanting to kill yourself. Every day you may wake up fearing a call from an oncologist telling you the worst news of your life. Every day you may wake up not feeling like there's a support circle somewhere because that circle may be dying off. Every day you may wake up because that family that you have is shying away from you because they don't want to hear any more bad news. It's important to find a group of people. So share your story, because faith without works is dead. Sow your seed, leave a legacy. Let people know that you were here for a reason. So do something.
Being in this community, you come across women who have extraordinary stories, diagnoses that you may not have even heard of. The diagnosis that is new to me is didelphys. which is a rare condition where a person develops two uteruses, and it's also called double uterus.
My name is Leanna, and this is my story. Infertility affected me by sneaking up on me like a dark cloud. Everyone around me was getting pregnant, family members, friends at work, and I just didn't understand why my husband and I were having so many issues getting pregnant. I went and sought out OBGYN doctors, reproductive health doctors, and I was finally diagnosed with a double uterus, a double cervix, endometriosis, and fibroids. Soon came multiple surgeries. We tried Clomid, still couldn't get pregnant. We tried in vitro fertilization, and we were so excited and optimistic that we would get pregnant. And we received the results, and it was negative again. At that point, it was 6 years of trying to get pregnant. My husband and I were just hurting inside, but for me, I would smile like everything is fine, but I was carrying those dark clouds that weighed on my shoulder of why can't I be pregnant? Why can't I be a mother? Am I not woman enough? Am I not strong enough? I felt like my body betrayed me. Who would have thought? A woman being born with two uteruses, one kidney, and a double cervix. Who would have thought that I'm carrying around fibroids in my body that's affecting my fertility? And I remember my husband was working night shift, and I walked into the kitchen, and I remember looking at the butcher board, pulling up each knife to see which one was sharp enough to cut my throat. You know, the devil was telling me, your husband can marry somebody else and have children with them. So I was contemplating killing myself. I remember pulling up the last knife, and it had the serrated edges, and I said, that one is sharp enough to cut my throat. But I remember God said to me, Leanna, your life is worth saving. Your life has a purpose. Hope still stands. My middle name is Hope. Who would have thought the journey I was going to go on, that I was supposed to give hope to others? But infertility was so heavy, so hard. Being a young woman, especially a young Black woman, the Bible says to be fruitful and multiply. But I'm not fulfilling the purpose that's in the Bible. So infertility really got me to a point that I wanted to end my life. But I thank God that I'm still here. I'm helping others by sharing my story about infertility, by using my voice. I remember as a little girl, I thought that my voice didn't matter. Now, after surviving infertility twice, I'm using my voice to empower others. I'm a motivational speaker. I do it through modeling. I do it by, being a brand ambassador for fertility organizations. And I'm finding the strength and healing as I go. And I had to learn to forgive myself. We all need to forgive ourselves on the journey that we're on, because we blame ourselves very often. But it's what God has planned for us, because it's bigger than us. I know now that my life has a purpose. My first daughter, she's 10 years old. It took 8 years to have her. My second daughter is 11 months, and it took 8 years to have her. At 40, I had my second child. So it's never, the end. Don't lose hope. I remember what it's like. I still relate to those emotional moments of feeling like it will never happen for me. I understand. It's a sisterhood. When you're going through, you think that you're by yourself. You think you're the only one. I thought I was the only one. All those tears that I cried in my 20s into my 30s. All those times that I contemplated killing myself. But I'm here to tell you that your life has a purpose. There is greatness in you. No matter how you have your child, whether it's birthing naturally, whether it's somebody else carrying a child, whether it's you actually doing something that you dreamed of, whatever way that you birth your blessing, don't ever give up on you. See the strength and the love that God has given you. I know now that I've been through all this for a reason. It's greater than me. I'm supposed to give hope to others. And I'm so grateful that God has blessed me for this position, for this opportunity to be the hope for someone else that's suffering in silence. I will tell those that are going through infertility right now that we're in this together. Don't suffer in silence. I know what that's like, thinking that I can't tell anybody. They're going to judge me. I can't, go out into the world and let people know the pain that I'm going through. But you can. Lean on someone else. And it's not over until God says it's over. Don't ever give up. I'm here to tell you that I'm still here. I was supposed to end my life by the devil's standards back in my 30s. But now I'm 41 years old, a mother of 2. And I'm using my voice to empower others. So anyone that's living with a double uterus, anyone that's dealing with endometriosis, fibroids, multiple surgeries, I have 4 all together. Don't ever give up on you, because your life has a purpose.
Infertility is a faith walk. You don't know what's going to happen next. All you can do is pour your heart to God and hope that He hears your prayers like He heard Hannah's. Sometimes the feeling is so overwhelming that you just have to cry it out. But no longer are you crying alone. You have a sisterhood that will lift you up, a sisterhood that will build you up, a sisterhood that will pray with you, a sisterhood that will sing with you. And most of all, this sisterhood knows exactly how you're feeling on the inside. Because only someone who has gone through this can really genuinely understand how you feel.
You lift me up.
Oh God.
Yes, God. Lord, you lift me up.
Oh God. Yes, Lord.
So in the fullness of your grace,
God.
and in the power of your name,
God.
you lift me up. Lord, you lift me up. You are my strength, strength like no other, strength like no other. It reaches to me.
Hallelujah. You did it.
It took a while for me to use my voice because I was afraid. I realized that there are so many people that was going through what I was going through. And if I'm just one story, then there has to be thousands of stories out there. I wanted to create something that zoned in on how we feel. You have to tell the stories, especially the stories that are considered taboo. I pray that my voice continues to get louder and louder and louder, so loud that the government and these insurance companies start to pay for fertility treatments at 100%. If you are struggling with infertility, you are already a survivor. You are already surviving the hardest part of it all, trying. You are a person that will never give up. Women who struggle with infertility are strong and resilient. We are indescribable. In the midst of what we are going through, we are still there for our family and friends with a smile. Yes, we may cry later, but we have to have faith that God will reward us. God has a plan. Trust the plan. Walk the road. And hopefully at the end of the road, you get what you desire. And if not, it's what God desired for you. Keep smiling. Keep shining, knowing that you are not alone and you do not have to suffer in silence.